In this video we're going to take a look at the contents of this toy box. Inside the box is someone's Thomas collection or toy train collection. The lot box is licensed for 2007. The box came to me via the charity shop who collects toys for me down the road. Let me have a bit of a look inside. Ooh, I think we're going to find some surprises in there. Let's get into this box and let's do it. Let's kick off by talking about the box. It's licensed for 2007. Well, as you can see, this box is themed as Thomas, and what is interesting, where the buffers are, they're actually wheels. So this box can roll around. On the lid of the box, it's got some divots here, so you had more of these boxes, you could actually just stack them up. The box is in, pretty good condition. It's got a few dings and scratches, but you'd expect that being a toy box. It's got some latches on the side here. It doesn't have any artwork on the back. But I'll tell you what, inside, there is a ton of Thomas gear. I'm just thinking, how many of you guys out there have had your Thomas collections given away? Oh, here they come. Whoa, here they come. And I bet you, don't you wish you had them back? Oh boy, this is a mixed bag of toys in here. It looks like some good stuff in here as well. Let me sort this out and let's go through what's inside the box. Well, we have a few non-Thomas things to look at first. This is Dora the Explorer and Diego. Hope I'm right there. These are 2007 Learning Curve toys. In a sense, they're very similar to Take and Plays because of the magnet system they used, but these toys basically look untouched. They look, well, as you'd get them out of the box. There's a closer look at our drivers there, and what is a bit spooky for me is I already have two of these toys in my possession. So there are the two new ones, and if I slide across, there are the two I already own. Double Dora the Explorer trouble. There was one solitary, I call it a backhand loader. I think it's a Bob the Builder character. If it is a Bob the Builder character, I do not know its name. I can't read the licensing info underneath because it's so tiny, but you know what, when I was a kid, I could stand for hours and watch these sort of machines operate. I always think these are the most versatile types of machines, and if I had an option and you're only allowed to have one machine in your life, I think this is what I'd have, because you could scoop up dirt and you could also dig big trenches. There was this single solitary made in Hong Kong wood burning loco. That's what it says underneath. It says model number 101. It's just one of those really cheap, what do you call it, like Chinese toys. The black part here is all plastic. The wheels do move. It's got like a collapsing wheel at the front there, probably broken. But the gold piece there is actually metal. And there's a quick shot of underneath, and people may get excited if they see that. Well, the next one is no surprise to me. It's a whole bunch of Checkout Thomases. And interestingly, here's the Fat Control from that series. I think that's the first one I've got. I didn't see many Fat Controls when they were in the box, but they used to hang out at the checkouts back in 2007, which is their licensing info underneath. And they were $2. You basically couldn't leave the shops without buying one. But, some people love these things. These don't look like they've had much play. There's a Snowy Thomas there. I don't think I've got a Snowy one. Although I've got that many Thomases now, I really can't tell. There's a normal Thomas. Those eyes are starting to freak me out. Go back and look at Snowy Thomas's eyes. I should have made mention of that. Here comes Emily, looking a bit spooky. Here comes Percy. Those eyes are killing me. Coming around back to Edward. And the Fat Controller. Well, here's a better look at the snow-covered Thomas. Look at those eyes. They're looking that way. It was interesting. The characters came in different themes. There were lots of different Thomases in the series. And they were very popular. I remember the boxes emptying out real fast. It's a shame they don't come back. And that's the strange wheels they had underneath. The wheels on the side here did nothing, but they had little rollers underneath. The other unusual part about this series was there was no way to couple the trains, but I'm sure children could work it out with a bit of sticky tape or a piece of blue tack, because I know how children work. And there's a good look at the Fat Controller, because I know you'll ask me, can we have a better look? It reminds me of the Erdl Fat Controller. Some of them had base plates on them, some didn't. But it's quite nice. It's a shame it doesn't have like a little painted mouth. But that's what it looks like, and its details are on the back there. There it is, 2007 Ghislaine Thomas, and there's a web address there connected to the people who did these. Out from that toy box came a whole assortment of wooden buildings, wooden track, all sorts of brands here, generic brands. I think that's Thomas and Friends that we can see on screen at the moment. Although that piece there, I'm not sure about. Over the back here, there's some very old wooden piece here, probably been hammered by the sun. I think that's just from generic cheap train sets. I'm not sure about the trees, maybe they are as well. I'm not sure if Thomas and Friends do trees like that. There's a piece of imitation wooden train track there, which is plastic. I've got a whole set of that I'm going to show one time. Very scary, that stuff. And a strange crane piece there. The one thing which is apparent to me is this track looks basically brand new. It looks, well, looks like it's had very little play. It's the one which has got the road on the other side. You know, once you start playing with this stuff a bit, it starts to get a bit knocked around. You start to get little dents in it. This looks fresh out of the box. Maybe an example of a piece which has had a bit of play is this one here. It's got little marks and dents all over it, and it's fairly well weathered. This windmill piece is quite a nice piece. I dare say the audience can tell me if it's Thomas and Friends or not. It just has a look of Thomas and Friends stuff. It feels fairly quality. The piece comes off like that. But what is interesting is there's sort of no indication of who made this, and that's why, well, I'm a bit skeptical of exactly what it is, because I'm not a Thomas wooden expert. I'll assume this is Thomas and Friends by going from the track pattern on this piece and just the overall finish. And maybe when you probably look at that artwork, then maybe I could say that that windmill was Thomas and Friends. There's no sort of markings on this or licensing info that I can see. It looks fresh, you know, there's a few little dings on the blue paint, but overall it basically looks like a new piece. Well, for me, this bridge piece is quite a curious piece. I'm assuming it's Thomas and Friends by that track pattern on top, but it's got this little piece on the end which seems to come out. I don't understand it. I mean, I need to see what connects to that to probably work out why that's there. It's there on this side and there's nothing on that side, and I do notice that this piece has also got a US patent number on it. There's the patent number, which is curious to see, and I've actually just noticed hidden away in the artwork there's 2005 Thomas. I better go back and look at that windmill. Well, if this is Thomas and Friends, somewhere hidden on this artwork is going to be a date. Oh, there it is there, 2002. Oh, it might be a collector's item. Oh, I like this wooden piece here. It's actually marked in very, very small print, 2002 Thomas. You can let your cars go through here and you can stop them if you want. You can stop the trains if you turn the barriers that way. And it's got these plastic, well, there's one left on it, but this thing comes out fairly easily, which I was a bit surprised to see. I noticed that there's one missing on the other side of it here. But it's a nice piece. I like little pieces like that. And yeah, I wonder who's got one of those. And now I've trained my eyes to understand where these are marked in the licensing info. This one's marked as 2002 Thomas blah blah blah. And we should take a look at this piece here. It's a Fat Controller. It is marked 2001. I'm not sure whether that was a good or bad year for the Fat Controller. You can tell me. And there was also this crane piece. It feels quality to me. If it's feeling like quality, it's probably Thomas and Friends. Although I might be totally wrong. I know the audience will know. Please tell me if that is a component from a Thomas and Friends blah blah, or is it from some other blah blah. Well, what I'd like to do is try and help someone out who's in a little bit of strife at the moment. They're probably feeling very down. The person who I'd like to help is called Thomas Wooden Railway. I read on your channel there's a bit of copyright nonsense going on, and I certainly know the feeling that can do to you. It can be very depressing, and it's amazing how people want to claim something that you've made as theirs, but I dare say that will be the demise of all of us on YouTube eventually. Just look what's happened with the Let's Play gamers. Then again, I sort of saw that coming, and the way the networks wash their hands of it. Very interesting indeed. But I'd like to send you out what you see on screen here, but I'll be sending you out other stuff as well. This is just a portion of what I'm going to send you. I'm not going to bore you with the whole details. Of course I will send you one of these. You're saying, where's my rubber chicken? There it is. People just say, we just want the rubber chicken. Well, that's all we want. And of course I'll send you out some other good stuff as well. It'll be things like that. You know, Thomasy things. I know what you like by looking at your videos there. Come on, stay up, Thomas, stay up. But look, have a chat to me in the PM area if you want, and I'll try and help you through your copyright dramas. Boy, I've fought through some, I tell you, and it's like I said, it's amazing the fight people will put up to try and lay claim to your video, something that you produced. It's really sad that this goes on all the time in the background of YouTube, and a lot of people, they basically give up and they let this other entity, company, whatever, scam, they let those people claim your video. It's quite an interesting little sub-industry. Well, let's move on. Thomas Wooden Railway, I've got a booty of stuff headed your way, and hopefully it will make you feel a whole lot better. There's a Thomas the Tank, an Annie, and a Clarabelle, and they're all marked 2003. I'll just do a quick in-hand appraisal of this toy. It looks pretty fresh, it hasn't had much love, and what I mean by love is little dings and scratches and stuff. That's the love children give toys. I say a toy is unloved if it basically looks like it's mint in box. Thomas underneath. And again, I'll explain, if you don't know where to find the dates on these guys, it's inside the wheels there. A lot of people ask that question. Of course, you've got to remember that a lot of people are still learning about this all the time. In the box of toys, there was one of these. I call them the all-metal wooden motorized Percy. Hello, Percy. It looks a bit used. I notice that it's not working at the moment. I'll just throw a battery in. Let's see if we can get him cranking. There's that shot for everyone. I can't help myself, can I? It's marked 2002 in the licensing area. Oh, it's got an energizer in there, which obviously has lost its energy. It's interesting when so many toys come through via the charity shop, the batteries have leaked and the battery area has been corroded. This one looks okay. Let me slip in a Mr. Aldi and... oh! It's a runner! Let me slip Percy's top on so he's not feeling so naked. And zip up that little screw. Oh no, Percy's stolen Annie and Clarabelle. Get out of my way, Thomas! Annie and Clarabelle are mine! All mine! From that box of toys, there was a Jack, a Duck, and Birdie the Bus. They were all marked 2003. Well, I'll do a bit of an in-hand appraisal here. Jack's got a bit of a moving thing here. I'm not that familiar with the wooden toys. My son, well, I never really bought my son a whole ton of this stuff. He was more into the take and plays. But I know these are good quality toys, and you know, in a way, you don't look at the cost of them, because you're buying stuff which is quality and it's going to last. And it's interesting, these look pretty clean. There's not many dings on these. Duck looks pretty clean, and Birdie probably looks even cleaner again. And I call it the Love. If it's all dinged up, I call that the Thomas Love, but Birdie looks, well, fairly unloved. Well, from that box of toys, we could label them as the quality wooden trains. The next ones we look at, well, they're from a totally different planet. I think there's one thing that I'm learning looking at all these toy trains is you just do not touch the generic cheap stuff, and this will be another lesson in why you don't touch it. Okay, let's do a bit of in-hand appraisal of this stuff. It's some sort of lorry or something. Would have been something that tagged into the back of that. I suppose it's all in one piece, so I can't really get anything to break off it. I'll just give it a bit of play here. It's staying in one piece, but it's a fairly rudimentary, rough design. Let's take a look at this other stuff here. It's staying together. This one here, it's staying together. I suppose the little boy who had this would have given these a fairly rough time, but then again, they don't have that much wear and tear on them, as in, yeah, love, as I call it. Yeah, it's got a plastic hopper on that one. Actually, the end pieces are plastic as well. It's stayed together. And if you remember, when we're looking at the track, there was that piece of plastic, I suppose the imitation wooden track, made out of plastic. You sort of wonder, why would you bother? And along in that box was obviously there was a whole train of this stuff. It just says made in China underneath. It's like a knockoff, you know, wooden set made of plastic, if that makes any sense. And it's just rubbish. I'm surprised that it even survived into the box. It's basically all broken apart. It's almost like those dark side toys, which literally just fall apart in your hands. You know, they so easily come apart. They end up presenting lots of little choking hazards, and you know, you wonder why people even bother with them. And this one here, it's a tender, and it would have connected to a train. It's obviously the battery, you know, the power for what was here, which, you know, obviously wasn't in the box. But again, this piece here, it's come to grief. It's seen much better days, and it's another insight into, well, why you don't touch this. It's completely falling apart in front of me here. It's amazing. Yeah, I wonder if it's got a battery in it or not. Oh, I don't think so. It feels too light. It feels like it hasn't got anything in there. But then again, it's another lesson to why that stuff is oh so dangerous. You know, this is funny. I was pulling this out of the box and I was only just touching it a bit, and it was literally falling apart. And look how brittle this plastic is. Look at that. It takes nothing to break this. I don't know whether it's sun affected. Sometimes plastic goes a bit funny when it's been out in the sun. It looks a bit discoloured, doesn't it? But it's just super, super brittle. Imagine, imagine that poor little child breaking this apart, and you know, next thing those bits of shardy plastic are in their mouth. I mean, look at that, just completely falling apart. It's so brittle. It's weird. I've never seen anything like that before. Well, that plastic on the train's that brittle. I wonder if this piece of track is the same. Let me just give this a bit of a twist and see what happens. No, I can't get it to go. I was hoping to get a nice snapperoonie going for you, but I can't break it. In that box of toys was this assortment of plastic signs and 2 styles of plastic tree, some railway crossing ones there, a set of lights, something telling you there's some on digging, blank railway crossing one there, person crossing the street, something which I have no idea, and something that says stop, so I better stop. I just noticed on a bit more scrutiny of these two here, underneath it says Mega Blocks. Oh, there's a great mix of taking place here, remembering that we are looking at what used to be a little boy's collection of trains. There's Birdie there. He must have been a bit of a Birdie and Jack fan, I feel. Because I've seen, especially Jack as a wooden one, didn't we? Going around, there's a Brendan shipping box van there, what do you want to call it? Diesel 10, which is very interesting. It looks barely played with. I'll show you my son's Diesel 10 versus that one. And also show my son's Toby versus the Toby on this table. Alfie there has seen better days. He must have been into the diggers and stuff. Look at that, Alfie's been hammered. His little bucket thing's gone. There's Diesel. Diesel's been doing some work. A nice devious looking on that one. Sad that Diesel's got all happy in recent times. There's Mavis. Here comes Duck. Duck's looking, well, pretty well unloved. And back round to Thomas, who's showing signs of, well, a little bit of love. I'll take a look at some of these. This is an old 2002 Take and Play Duck. This is the heavy boy. This is the one you want if you've got any playsets that need like a gravity type thing that works or something heavy. This is the one you have. The newer Duck is much lighter. It's almost like a total rebuild. They must have remolded the whole thing. But if you're after the decent Duck, I suggest you go and get one of the earlier ones. Oh, don't we love Diesel? Here he is, back when he was devious. Bring back Devious Diesel's face, I say. This is a 2005 Devious Diesel, and it's a little bit of paint's missing on him. I'd say Diesel's had a bit of play, and I think Diesel's, well, it's one of my favourite characters, just like how sneaky and scary he is. And I liked it when he had a face like that. Let's take a look at one of the ladies, and that's Mavis. Mavis looks cute. I think there are a lot of Mavis fans out there. And what is interesting about Mavis is it's got a bit of a ding on the magnet area. That's a sign of love, when you have dings on the magnet area. And there's a bit of paint missing. But I'd say Mavis has been hard at work. Well, here's Jack. And his licensing info is 2004. He's looking happy, Jack. Wasn't that a Who song? It's interesting, this boy, I'd assume that he was into diggers and stuff if I was doing a Sherlock Holmes on this, because I noticed that there's a theme of diggers in his toys, and this one looks fairly well played with. There's also a Jack in the Wooden series, so there's nothing wrong with being a Jack fan. I don't know if I think I do have one of these upstairs, I'm not sure. I think my son's got every Take and Play there is on the planet. Here's a 2002 Birdie, and I think my advice if you are going to collect the Take and Plays, or take-alongs as some people call them, go for the earlier stuff. And I say that because there's a lot of weight in these guys. This is when they were made with a lot more metal, and you'll find there's very little plastic on the engine-styled ones. But that's what I'd be going for. The later ones, there's just too much plastic going on. And here's a bit of a comparison of two 2002 Diesel 10s. The one on screen there is the one out of the toy box, which would have been that little boy's collection. And just take a look at the condition of that one there. 2002 was a while back. Well, we don't exactly know when it was being played with, but we know it's one of the older style Take and Plays. And if I spin around, this other one is my son's one, and it's been one of his favourite Take and Plays. Look at the hammering that my son once got. There's paint missing all over it. It's looking very, loved, very weathered. I love the look of that when toys are being played with. It's very hard to actually simulate that sort of look unless it's sort of real play. So remember that, and we'll go back to the one which is in the toy box, which is, in comparison to my son's, looking mighty brand spanking new. But both of them are from the era that I'd say you want to get the Take and Plays, and that's 2002. And just a curious comparison of the Tobys. there's the one out of the toy box. It's a 2002 Toby, which is a very different animal than my son's one, which is a 2009. There's my son's one, and it's had a fair bit of love. A lot of paint has been knocked off that one, although I felt that Toby paint job really wasn't up to scratch. But this one here has also got another very, very curious problem. Let's take a look in my hands. Well, here is the 2002 Toby in my hands. Did you see the problem it had before? It was all a bit lopsided. Now, I haven't seen this problem before. It looks like, I'm not sure whether this is a factory error or how could the rivet here, I don't know how this has happened. This wheel set here at the front, or this front rivet here, hasn't been set properly. Maybe someone else out there knows this problem. Remembering it's 2002, it's one of the earlier ones. But for some reason, Toby's looks like he's, you know, taken off that way. He's on the tilt. This wheel here is much lower than the wheel at the back. And you can see just in there where that gap is presenting, that piece there has not gone up flush to the magnet there. Something strange has gone on here. I actually tried to reset it back in and I can't, but maybe you guys know of this problem. Maybe this was a factory fault one. It's a shame it wasn't left in box. It would have been a nice one to collect. It was in box and had that fault on it. I don't know. I'm being a bit of a Sherlock Holmes, but because I can't see into the past, I can't see exactly why this Toby has that little wheel problem. And what is nice in that box of toys was one of the earlier take-along or take-a-plays Thomases. The way to identify these really simply is it's got a larger number 1 here, much more pronounced. It's got all metal boiler and funnel. The later ones have got plastic. It's got a chirpy and moony sort of face. The black piece here is a little bit smaller. The older ones, the whole top is painted black. This one here's got like a little blue ridge around the edge. Of course it says 2002 underneath, but to me when I see this, when I see that, boom, straight away it's shouting this is one of the earlier ones. It's a bit more heavier in weight. These were the better made ones, and if you're a collector, this is the one you want to collect. And the important thing to understand about these early take-along Thomases is that they were coming in and replacing what many saw as the all-time classic Thomas & Friends toys, being the Ertl toys. So it would have taken a while for these guys to get into the toy boxes and be passed down through the generations of children and families. Mind you, if you look at it now, these have become very, very popular toys, and they do have the redeeming features of having robust wheel sets, magnetic couplings, and I think we've all got used to the distortions that have been presented in this style of toy. Oh yeah, that box of toys had a bit of Tomy goodness, and what is interesting, these are from all sorts of different dates. Let's take a look. Well, the first cab off the ranks of these Tomys, it's a Percy, it's Tomy 1994. That's a long time ago, isn't it? Looking very happy, and I've got a feeling it still works. Oh yeah, there's that Tomy sound we all love. Rattle, rattle, rattle. It's got a bit of strength to it. I wonder what battery's in here. It's back in the days when you could open these up fairly easily. Oh, it's a Duracell. I better cover that up. Else people will accuse me of doing ads for Duracell again. Don't you hate the people on YouTube that just go crazy for like no reason at all? But yeah, it's interesting. This is sort of older stuff compared to the other stuff we saw in that toy box. It's very hard to tell, you know, exactly how old the boy was who was playing with these toys, or the era that he came from, the generation, because we don't know. They may have bought these later, or who knows, it might have been an old sibling. You just can't tell. You know, it's one of those mysteries of life. Well, the next one, it's a 1992 Thomas. I'd say it's been out in the sun. I think they go like this when they've been out in the sun. Does it still work? It's still a goer. Good old Tomy quality. Look at that traction tyre. It's seen much better days. Looks like it's all... I don't know if that's the original ones or they've just been chewed out. I don't know. I've quite often seen people put araldite and things in here. The traction tyres blow out and they fill them in. That is the original traction tyre, but it's something weird happened there. Let's just get the battery out, see what sort it is. My goodness, I hope it's not Duracell. I'll be in more trouble. It's Energizer. Probably the same diff, isn't it? It's interesting. You quite often you see these, they'll pick up a lot of fluff and dust, and there'll quite often be a lot of, you know, hair and stuff caught around the wheels. That's what you got to clear out of these guys. But the Tomy ones, man, they are a fantastic toy. They've and even the Trackmasters as well. I shouldn't be landing, you know, all the glory on Tomy, but I think these toys really do show how robust and long-lived a toy can be. And the next one is Donald, and Donald's a Tomy 1998. He's dragging along his tender here. Let me just take that off. He's on a goer. Let's take a look at his face. He's looking, yeah, well, he's looking his age, isn't he? He's not a spring chicken. 1998 was a long time ago. Let me just get the battery out. I'll take a look inside here very quickly. I'm Speed King at this, I hope. Oh, better cover that up. It's the Sony ad now. It's a Sony battery in there. I wonder why it doesn't work. Let me just go and grab another battery. Out with the old, in with the new, as George Harrison sang many years ago. Oh yeah! It's a goer and it's a strong goer. Oh yeah. It's in a funny way, it's in good condition, but under closer scrutiny, it's actually got a few problems going on. Does anyone recognise that sort of problem there? We've got a rusty axle going on there. I'd say this one's been a swimmer. These toys love going in pools, did you know that? And there's also another problem up here where the battery was, and I'll take this battery out and I'll show you. You know, if I go back and look at the battery that was in that toy there, it was actually leaking. It had all the signs of being a weepy battery, and these sorts of batteries are toy killers. And let me just flash up here. Donald's battery compartment again, and you can just start to see where all that liquid, the goopy stuff from the battery had been leaking out, a bit of corrosion going on there, and it wouldn't have been long before this toy would have been totally rendered useless. And even on this top battery piece, which is basically the battery cover, you can see the liquid which has been oozing out of that battery, and that's what kills toys. And then we've got a 2002 Tommy James. His face is looking a bit yellow. And it's interesting, his traction tyres here have gone all brittle. I don't know what's caused that. I'll just show you a closer look at what's going on here. And just looking at this traction tyre real close, I don't know if you can see that, but it just bits of it come away really easily. It's gone all hard. I've never seen that before. I don't know whether the sun's caused that. Ugh. It's seen much better days. But the problem with the traction tyres is a minor ailment compared to what you need to make those spin, and that's this here. And as I've seen so many times, the battery cover's missing. The wiring has just been blown off the back of James, and it's such a common sight to see it like that. So normally, you know, it'd be connected there and the wiring would be going up to the motor, but it's gone boom, and James is no more. And there were these three pieces of rolling stock. I'm not that flash hot on knowledge about these Tommy rolling stock, but the piece that I like is this one here because it's got a bit of a moving door feature. And in that box of toys was this lonesome Golden Bear 1995 Harold, and he makes a bit of a sound up on his rotor blade. I don't want to crash into the camera. Oh, and last and by no means least is this beautiful 2005 Tommy Thomas, and it's got all the things that I like. You know what I'm going to say, don't you? It's got that splash of water on the running board, but overall it's got all the hallmarks that Tommy were good with when they did their Thomas toys. I'm going to have to throw some batteries in to see if this still works. But I love it. I think this toy uses those little button style batteries, and what I've found is they can leak terribly and they can often be toy killers, but we'll have to wait and see until we open this up and see what's going on inside. Well, just as I suspected, these batteries have been leaking, and so often when I get the little toys that use these batteries, the corrosion kills them. Let's take a look inside Thomas's battery compartment. Well, there's the first battery there. It looks like it hasn't leaked. That's the battery that was leaking, and you can see the damage that it's done. A bit of WD-40 and a bit of scrubbing might get that going again, and that one there looks marginal. There's a bit of damage in that third battery bay. Okay, got some batteries in there. I think, oh yeah, it's working. Oh, there's a tune. I'll get a DMCA. I've just noticed on the back of this Thomas, there's a switch there. It says off. It looks like a train wheel there, and there's the music note. I think that plays a Thomas tune. I think that's just train sounds. I'm going to leave it on train sounds because I don't want to get a copyright strike. Okay, I think it's pretty simple. Just move Thomas along. It makes some sounds. Well, out of that box of toys that used to be someone's Thomas collection, these are the Thomases that I like for my collection. This is the 2007, what I call Checkout Thomas, and it's at the snow theme. I don't think I've got one of those. I like the 2002 Take Along. It's in good nick. It's pretty hard to find those in good condition like that, and they're all metal. They're the ones to get, and I don't have many of those. And I like this 2005 Tommy because the button batteries in those ones quite often leak, and quite often they're not working. So how many of you out there can report that you had lost your Thomas collection due to your parents or your caretakers saying you don't need that anymore? And how many of you regret not having it now? It's such a common story that I see people saying. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I certainly enjoyed going through that toy box. It was quite interesting. As always, thanks for watching, and bye for now. Oh no, Percy stole Annie and Clarabelle. Oh, wait, there's Thomas. Bring me back Annie and Clarabelle. Percy, come back, come back. Oh no, Percy's stolen Annie and Clarabelle. What's going to happen here? Thomas is going to try and stop him. No, he's not. Oh no, Percy's stolen Annie and Clarabelle. Out of the way, Thomas. Annie and Clarabelle are mine. All mine. And it has this noise feature on top. And you're going to crash into the camera. And I like this 2005 TOMY because the ones which have that little style of button battery often have very damaged, he's making a noise there, very damaged battery compartments for the fact those little button batteries love to leak.